Welcome to the Blue Dwarf Keeping Children Safe Online. I am Paula, your host. I am a dedicated cybersecurity professional with a passion for OSINT and digital forensics. This podcast is a safe, supportive space where we share real-world tips to help parents, carers, and teachers protect the children in today's digital space. No fear, just practical advice and empowering insights to help you feel more confident navigating online safety. Disclaimer: the content of this podcast episode is intended for educational and awareness purposes only. It features a real story involving a cyber activity by a minor. Due to the sensitive nature of the subject, the security risk involved, and the fact that our guest is underage, we will not be revealing their name or showing their face. For the entirety of this episode, the guest will be referred as redacted. All views expressed are those of the individual involved and do not necessarily reflect the position of any affiliated organization. Listener discretion is advised, especially for younger audience. Redacted, at the age of 12, was known as one of the most feared child hackers in the online underground. Running a server that sold thousands of copies of digital goods, his story blends curiosity, skills, risk, and consequences. Today, we'll explore how it all began, what drove his action, and the lesson we can learn from his journey. Please tell us something about yourself.
Hi, I go by Redacted online. Hacking started for me when I was just a kid. I was poking around on the internet. I think I was 9 or 10 years old when I realized digital spaces could be exploited or manipulated. For most people, like games are just a game, but for me, it's a possible business venture. Over time, my curiosity evolved. What started as experimenting turned into me running one of the biggest hacking markets inside a game. It wasn't planned, but it definitely escalated.
Wow. How did your journey into the world of hacking and server begin?
So I started actually hacking, I think at 10, playing Call of Duty. I saw people doing things that didn't seem possible, like aimbots, wall hacks, or like speed boosts, fly boosts. It didn't make me angry like a normal person would be. It made me just curious. I needed to know how they did it, what they were actually doing. So I started digging in forums. That led me into the world of like game mods, third-party tools. I wasn't necessarily watching tutorials, but I was going like through trial and error, just getting accounts banned.
So, at just 12 years old, what inspired you to run a server and how did you know how to set it up?
So at 12 years old, I really wanted control of my gaming system, we'll say. Playing games meant like agreeing to following their rules, and I just chose to push back on that. To break a game and to see how it worked. I didn't learn it, like I said, from polished tutorials. I learned it from like my friends who are older and experimenting from online groups, people sharing tips on how to get past anti-cheats. And again, like I said, trial and error.
That's interesting. Out of curiosity, can you describe what your server was selling, and how did you reach thousands of sales?
So we were selling cheats, mods, and private exploits. So stuff that can get you a serious unfair advantage. Our hacks were custom or tweaked to avoid connect detection, and it blew up really fast. The one person would use our stuff, dominate a match. Everybody was watching how they dominated the match, and it pretty much spread organically through like Discord, forums, again, and word of mouth. So like, let's say I hack with our cheats. I tell my friend, they start hacking with our cheats. Um, people started talking us like about us like we were a go-to plug, like the best cheats of the game. Um, it went from a handful of users to like tens of thousands in just a few months.
Did you realize at that time how significant your operation had become?
Not really. In the beginning, it just felt like a kind of side hustle with like obviously some excitement. The numbers were growing, but when I was young, I didn't really understand the scale of the business. I wasn't thinking about like laws or consequences. I was thinking about like uptime, features, and customer demand. The money and attention really started piling up though, and the game itself started cracking down, rolling out better anti-cheat systems, allocating more money into their developers. Um, Patching exploits, even banning accounts in like massive ban waves. So I realized I wasn't really just messing around anymore. The game really knew who you are. So I realized how serious it has become. Had
Wow.
become.
This is so very interesting, and you were so young. Were you working alone, or were you part of a group, or a team, or a network?
So I wasn't alone. I wouldn't say I'm part of a group. I was just a duo with one of my close friends.
Okay. Um, you mentioned that you were with a close friend. Would you say that he recruited you, or was this your entirely idea? How did
Uh,
things
yeah.
started?
So at the start, it was all me. No one really recruited me, I would say, or like pushed me into it. I wasn't like groomed or targeted. I just followed my curiosity, wanted to see what was possible, and just delve into the hidden world.
Okay. How did you first learn these skills? I know you mentioned that it was trial and error, but did you follow any online communities, or did you had mentorship or anything like this?
Well, I would say definitely online communities played a big part in it. But I wouldn't say I was guided by a specific person or group, we'll say. It was more, again, trial and error, me messing around, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't.
Okay, that's very interesting. What sparked your curiosity at 12?
What sparked my curiosity at 12 was I really just wanted the power. I wanted the power to just mess around. And I wanted to also give other people the power of messing around. Very accessible. I wanted to make it accessible, we'll say.
Okay. At any point, did someone older in the hacking community influence your action? Like really had an impact on you?
Yeah, there were a few older guys who definitely changed how I saw the hacking community. They weren't like recruiters, but they just gave the whole thing legitimacy, we'll say. They were extremely smart, ran their hacking operations like businesses, so made a lot of money, and were very respected in the circle. Um, so seeing that, it made it feel more corporate or normal, like actual companies. Um, and they would say like this is just another form of a hustle. If you're smart, you can pull it off. And that just made it easier to justify what we were doing.
That's insane. Were there any moments when you feel that everything was over your head, or that the things were moving too fast?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there were days where sales would like spike to crazy numbers. And that's either if we posted a YouTube video or any pretty much ad campaign. And there were like tens, hundreds of support messages that I had to get some of my friends to run. But yes, there were definitely times that I thought things were moving way too fast.
You really run your own company back then. um, At that age, because you started very young, were you aware of the legal or the ethical risk?
Not really. I knew that we were definitely breaking the game's terms of service. We knew we were breaking the game's rules, but I didn't connect it to laws or real world consequences. For me, it was more like just the thrill, the challenge, the power. At that age, ethics weren't ever really a conversation as much, although I didn't scam anybody. Um, but what mattered was, do the hacks work? Can we deliver? And that was pretty much the mindset. But it was all a gray zone for me.
Okay. You touch up on something very interesting. You said that you haven't scammed anyone. I know in our previous discussion, um, you mentioned something very, very interesting, and I would like if you can tell that to the young kids. You've told me previously that even though you did not scam anyone, you weren't thinking at the feelings of the other people that they were playing ethically. How did you
Yeah.
come to that?
So, um, first of all, I wanted to deliver a product. But in terms of the people who you could say were getting hacked on, were not on the side of the unfair advantage, I'll say.
Yes.
Um, it probably just ruined some gaming experiences or maybe got me a new customer. But that was just, I never really thought of them. I didn't see the other side of the sword, we'll say.
Yes.
Um, I only saw the handle.
That's interesting. But when you realized that, did you felt sorry for them, or did you had any remorse?
Yeah, I definitely felt sorry for them. I think I realized it after I actually shut down my
Okay.
hacking market. But during the heat of it, I didn't. I never realized it. But yes, after I shut it down, I definitely felt that. Felt sorry for them.
Okay. What was the turning point when you did realize that this could have serious consequences?
The turning point, I would say, would be when the game got a lot smarter. They started allocating more money to anti-cheat systems, tighter detection, lots of bans, like I said before. And I realized they really started recognizing that they had a hacking problem. Um, so at that point, I was like, this is not really worth it anymore. So I wrapped up my script, kind of pulled the plug on my whole operation.
Okay. Looking back, what were or were there any sign that should told you to step away sooner?
I guess the toxicity of the hacking community. I could never reveal any personal information. Um, I had
Yes.
to be constantly paranoid, worried about my script getting cracked. If you don't know what a script getting cracked is, it's
Yes.
um, your source code effectively getting leaked to the public by what you call a deobfuscator. Um, and people in my own community that weren't obviously the higher ups, but scamming people, um, having DDoS botnets. Uh, so I guess that would be a big red flag, one could say.
How a parent, okay, let me phrase this in English. How can a parent realize that his child, um, his or her, let's not discriminate anyone,
Mhm.
are using or running scripts and bots?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's not easy, first of all. For one, in a let's be unrealistic here.
Okay.
If you're very versed in computers, you could somehow set up like a rat on your kid's computer.
You need to explain what a rat is.
So a rat is pretty much a thing of spyware where
Okay.
you can see effectively everything that your kid's computer is doing. Um, but spyware services are notoriously have bad backends, we'll say. A lot of them are vibe coded. If you don't know what vibe coded is, fully coded with AI.
Okay.
Um, I wouldn't do it. I would say give your kid advice. Give your kid advice on how to be safe on the internet. Give your kid advice on ethics, on thinking of every point of view or the whole I think of the whole iceberg, we'll say.
Okay. Very interesting. So, what happened when you shut down the server? Was it your decision or were you forced out?
Well, I would say it's both. It was definitely my decision, but there was also pressure. The anti-cheat system, like I said, was closing in. Every update felt like another trap I had to go through. The risks were like getting bigger. I think there was a lot of DMCAs sent out, and a DMCA is pretty much you have to take down your service or you'll get sued. Um, and it just kind of got boring. Um, I felt like it was the right time to use my skills on a ethically better and legally better. Um, yeah, I just felt like my skills could be used better legally.
So, in the end, you did get to the legal and ethics. After
Yeah,
all,
so you could say I'm matured.
that's a good thing. After all this experience, looking back, do you think that you've talked to an adult at the time? Or would you, how to say this? Would you go to ask for advice from someone older than you, meaning a teacher, a parent, a friend's parent, or someone else?
Well, I'm hmm. I would say that if a teacher or parent was very versed in IT and very versed in the whole hacking works, we'll say, maybe I would have, right? To ask someone older. Definitely, I wouldn't do it if they were my parent or my teacher, but maybe if they were another person that I knew that was very technically savvy, I may have.
Okay.
But a lot of older people are not technically savvy, and I think that's why I didn't talk to an adult at the time. Looking back, I think legal advice would help if a parent was there, or just to look at hindsight. Yeah, legal advice, definitely.
You've touched a very sensitive point that I was trying to talk about for a very long time. So I have a question for you. If it's uncomfortable, feel free not to answer.
Mm.
But I would like to know what made you not to go to either your parents or somebody who you know, but it's not tech savvy.
I would say, um, my parents, they give me a lot of freedom,
Okay.
and I respect them a lot, and that's why I would go to adults. I um if my parents were very what you call a helicopter parent or did not give me a lot of freedom, I don't think I would ever have the opportunity to go to an adult to ask for advice. Um Yeah, I would say if my parents, because my parents gave me a lot of freedom and gave me advice instead of guidelines, we'll say. Um, I do ask them for advice very often, but if they gave me guidelines and not advice, and they really tried to set me up for everything, say you have to do this, you have to do that, I don't think I would have ever and still wouldn't have went to my parents.
Okay, that's very, very, very interesting and very up to date to say, because in this situation, there are so many children, and parents, they either don't realize or they don't want to acknowledge that sometimes trying to
Or even respect, by the way. Yeah, or even respect.
yeah, we're not trying to pinpoint fingers to anyone here. We just try to highlight what we realize. Well, in your case, it's even easier because you're way younger than I am. But looking back into my childhood, I think the way my generation grew up, we've been kind of, if not dictated what to do, but we've been really put on the line, let's say. So you need to do this, you need to do that. There is a certain way that you need to stay on the line, and so on. Where, from what I'm seeing in your generation, things are a bit more, or they have a bit more freedom.
Oh yeah, everything is more open. Open is
Yes,
the word, yes.
yes. And sometimes, well, I consider this is very good. And as I said, you've touched a very important thing. um, I did had a very open conversation with my mother while I was growing up, and I knew that I can go back to her no matter what happened. And this is something that you just mentioned. I don't want to bring your parents or my parents into this. It's just a general, a
Advice for parents who might have the same situation. Yeah, I get it.
exact. Yes, you worded better than I could. Yeah, don't try to suffocate the kid. Try to give it freedom, and they will come back to you.
I definitely back that. I definitely back what you just said. Totally agree.
Thank you. Moving forward, leaving the parents alone, poor parents. They have such a hard job, and
Yes.
we're not trying to
They're
pinpoint.
done holding their breath.
Yes. What advice would you give to a child who at the moment is in your shoes at that time? Would
Mhm.
you advise them to open up, especially to an adult?
I think if you, so starting off, I'd say yeah. You should open up, but you have to be smart about how you open up. If you're deep in something that you feel you can't really tell anybody, that's usually the moment you need to tell somebody. Trust is pretty hard, but silence turns into stress pretty quickly. At the same time, there are always going to be some things that you can't share with anybody, but that you need to keep under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel you don't want that burden of stress being on you. So definitely try to open up to a trusted adult. But you have to be smart. You have to have a plan. You can't spill everything out on them.
Okay, that makes sense. How did that experience shape your view of technology, hacking, and online community?
I would say it opened my eyes to both the power and the danger. Technology can be incredible, and it lets you build, connect, and create things that frankly did not exist before. But if you strip away ethics, it can turn pretty bad fast. Trust can be broken in literally a click. Online communities can lift you up or drag you into a darker place.
Wow. From that time, what skills have you carried forward, either positively or as a cautionary lesson?
Right. So I picked up many skills. Not just coding, but infrastructure, server management, people management even. I had a lot of what you could call employees, we'll say. Troubleshooting under pressure, negotiation. I had to learn how to solve problems very quickly, how to think strategically, how to build systems people relied on. But the biggest thing I took with me was this, that just because you can build something doesn't mean you should. Consequences matter. That lesson really stayed with me more than just any little bit of code.
That's a powerful statement. That's a very powerful statement. Um, did this experience change your perspective on cyber ethics and digital responsibilities?
I think not only that this experience changed my cyber ethics and digital responsibility, it really shaped my ethics and digital responsibility. Um, it showed me that cybersecurity isn't just about breaking into things for fun. There's a responsibility behind it. You realize how fast your actions online can impact people and real systems in the world. Um, that's why I look at it differently now. I'm pretty good at it, I would say, not to be arrogant. But I also enjoy it a lot. It's really a hobby for me. It's not a career path for me. But there's a career path for many young people. I just view it as a hobby, though.
That's amazing. What advice would you give to young people tempted to explore hacking?
I would say my biggest piece of advice would be stay curious. And that because that's really where it all starts. But you have to channel it into the right direction. Again, there are legal ways to test your skills, like bug bounty programs, coding competitions, open source security projects. You don't have to go underground to prove that you're good. It's way more honorable to stay on the good side.
Do you have a favorite platform, or can you give
Like
some?
yeah, yeah, like Hack the Box is a great platform. Um, you can also try Udemy, which is a tutorial thing for coding. It does cost money. Again, YouTube tutorials work perfectly too, but Udemy helped me in a lot of my stuff coding.
Me too, to be honest. Yes. How can we are going on a very mine ground for you, but I have a hard question. How can parents or educators spot signs of a risky online activity in children?
I don't, again, I don't think it's about spotting.
Mhm.
I think it's if you if you come heavy-handed or literally suffocate your kid, um, kids will just
Helicoptering.
yeah, helicoptering exactly. Kids will just get better at hiding what they're doing. There's a phrase, controlling parents create sneaky kids. Parents should focus on, again, giving advice and guidance, not trying to be a helicopter parent. If you pile on restrictions and try to control everything, they'll just blow up in your face. Kids will push back harder. As for educators, by the way, they should just stay off kids' backs. Let the parents do it. Um, honestly, in terms of educators, they shouldn't really it's not their responsibility to care about what kids should do outside of class.
Okay, interesting opinion. What's one step every young person in tech should take to stay on the right side of the law while exploring their curiosity?
So at the time when I was 12, ChatGPT wasn't available.
Mhm.
But now I would use things like ChatGPT, AI tools, not just to shortcut things, but to actually like learn to build smart, safe, useful stuff. And ask most importantly to yourself this simple question. If it breaks rules or boundaries, should I really do it? If your gut says it's a gray area, probably means not really worth it. probably means it's a little shady. Um, you don't have to break things to grow. You should focus really on creating things instead.
That's so nice. What's what keeps you motivated now? And what's your vision for ethical tech use among young people?
What makes me motivated now is turning, well, not, yeah, teaching people about my mistakes. They taught me a lot, and I want to help people avoid the same path I went down. Um, I want young people to see hacking as not cheating, but it's problem solving. It's not about breaking systems, but it's about understanding them. Um, that's what ethical tech should be. It should be powerful, but also responsible.
Interesting. I address this question to every guest. What's the one actionable step every listener, youth, parent, educator can take today to promote safe and ethical digital spaces?
So I would say bring up the conversation of digital ethics and ethics in general early. Um, just how you teach a kid to look both ways before crossing the street. You should teach them how to navigate the internet safely, because if you don't, they could be exposed to very bad things. Um, and yeah, that's what I would say. Bring up the conversation of ethics, digital safety, cybersecurity early in their life, so it gets ingrained into their mind.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for your openness and a willingness to tell your story. As I
Mhm.
said to you many, many times, I do believe your story is a very impactful one, and most of the kids who listen today, they have a lot of things to learn. So thank you very much for your presence today.
Of course, always happy to help. And if you need anything personally, I can always help.
Thank you. To all our listeners, we hope this episode gave you insight and tools to help guide young people towards ethical digital path. Don't forget to subscribe and join us for more conversation that keep online spaces secure. Stay safe and stay informed. Bye bye.